Hello everybody and welcome to the first video for 2025. I'm off to a bit of a slow start because it's middle of summer here and I've been out in the garden doing lots of work and picking berries and making jam. So now I need to get back to my embroidery. In this video I'll be making this design for you so you can see start to finish how to create the whole design, but it's featuring this accent of candle wicking, and I did the theory on candle wicking in a previous video, so I will link to that one below, and if you want you can go back and watch that so you understand all about candle wicking, properties, etc. But in this video I'm taking it a little bit further in that I'm going to use it in a design and talk a little bit about other options for you as well. Okay, before I get into the design though, I would like to draw your attention to the description below, because often you don't read it, but I also have other links down there. So if you're really enjoying my videos on YouTube and you'd like a little bit more personal help, I also have links to my one-on-one Zoom meetings that you can purchase and actually connect with me one-on-one, and I can help you with your personal issues in the software or with any design you're struggling to create, and that will also help you get on your digitizing journey a little bit faster than hoping and waiting for me to do a video on just the topic you need. So there's that option. If you don't like Zoom, I also have an option where you can purchase a one-on-one lesson that is by mail, and both those links are clearly listed below, and you can upload files for me to look at, as well as ask me questions in advance and during your lesson if it's not via Zoom, but in advance if it's for Zoom, so that I'm well prepared to cover what you need to know. Okay, without further ado, let's get on with this design. So I have used an image for this design and the image is in the software. So let's go to a new screen, a new design page, so that we can actually load that image and create this design. So I'll just open my other blank workspace. I haven't got the grid on, but it's up to you whether you like to work with the grid or not. I don't generally, unless I need some sort of reference to what size I'm working in. But usually if I have a graphic, I size the graphic and that helps a lot. So let's load a graphic, and the easiest way is for this one is to just click on your insert artwork at the top here, and you can navigate to your libraries, pictures, Bernina 9 pictures, artwork, and then the WMF folder. Once you're there, these images are in the folder, both in the WMF format, which you will just get a Corel icon for that because WMF formats don't have thumbnails. So what they've done is put the exact same design to the left or just before the WMF in a PNG format, so you can actually see what the WMF format is like. You can load either in this particular instance. They're all fairly clean graphics, so it's not going to be a huge amount of difference, but if you want to get the cleanest possible image, then probably load the WMF, and which can be done in embroidery canvas. So we need the Paisley design, and as I said, they're in alphabetical order, so I'm just scrolling down to the P's. Oh, there it is, and it's this one here, the Paisley. So I'll select it and open, and here it is. Now, as I have mentioned in previous videos, always size your graphic to the as close as you can to what you want your finished embroidery to be. It's far more efficient to digitize at the size you want rather than trying to resize later. Although the software does a great job of resizing, there are some issues with some stitch types and fill types when you resize dramatically. So get your image close to what you want. I'm going to change this one. What did I do my last one at? Let me have a look. The height was, let me select it, the height was 74.5. So let's make the height 75 just for an arbitrary round number. That's in millimeters. So if you're not working in millimeters, you can change up here to metric, or if you're in the US, that'll be in inches. I far prefer to digitize in metric because you can make fine-tune adjustments of 1 millimeter rather than a fraction of an inch, which they still put it as decimals, so 0.5 of an inch or 0.25 of an inch, or it might be 0.3 of an inch, and that might not make a lot of sense. So try and work in metric if you can. Okay, so as I said, I want a height of 75, so I'm going to make sure my lock is locked, and then I only need to change the height, and the width will change proportionately with the height. So let's type in 75 there and hit enter, and our graphic has been reduced in size. So I'm going to now zoom into that. And looking at this graphic, I mean, it's obviously not necessarily designed for candle wicking, and that's what you need to think about when you're looking at all the graphics that come with the software, because there's quite a few of them, is what else can you do with these graphics? They don't have to be solid fills and outlines just as in the image. You can use all sorts of stitch types, and you can leave bits out and put bits in and combine images to create what you want as an embroidery. So just think outside the box a little bit. So I'm going to make the candle wicking around this border here. Now, normally you would look at that and say it is a closed shape, but I am going, well, I will digitize it as a closed shape, an outline closed shape, to show you what sort of problems you can run into with the candle wicking stitch if you have sharp corners and close, like fairly tight areas like this down here at the bottom of the paisley. So I would normally digitize this as an open object, but I will digitize it as a closed one to show you, and then I can use my knife to cut it and make it an open object and show you how to fix it and how to do it with an open object. Okay, so let's, without further ado, get our open object. And with this color graphic, sorry, closed object I said, didn't I? With this color graphic, I'm going to just stay with the default dark blue so that it shows out very clearly on here. And I'm going to zoom in even further, and I'm going to start about here with a left click, because it's going to change direction after when I come back to join this. It's a point, so I need a left click, and then from then on it's right clicks to get all my curves. As you go around a tighter curve, you put in more nodes. When you get into big sweeping curves like this, you can afford to have less nodes, and the software will do a pretty good job of making a nice smooth curve for you. If you're not happy, of course, you can always reshape, and it doesn't matter if you're not exactly in the middle of this line and, you know, copying the image exactly. The image is a backdrop, and we're using it as a guide to create a design very similar to it, but it doesn't have to be exact. Now I'm going to do my last, you notice I put more nodes around here, and I'm going to do my last left click here and then hit enter to close that shape. And I forgot to choose the candle wicking, didn't I? I left it on single run. So that's not a problem. We can select it and we can change it to candle wicking. Now we'll go with the default candle wicking, which is the largest candle wick, and it has a space, quite a wide spacing. So let's look at the object properties for that. So we can right click either in the color film or on the object and choose the object properties. And here we can select the type of candle wick we want, and then we can set the size and the spacing. And as you can see here, the spacing is nearly double the size of the candle wick, so there's quite a large space between the candle wicks. But I actually want a smaller candle wick. This one's just a little bit big, so I'm going to hit the select button and I'm going to choose the 4mm one. And you'll notice with the 4mm one, the spacing is exactly the same size as the size of the candle wick. So that means there won't be any gaps between the candle wicks. If you want a gap, you can make the spacing a little bit larger than the size, and you will get a very small jump stitch between the candle wicks, and it won't tie in and tie off. It'll just move to the next candle wick. But be mindful of how big a gap you've got, especially around curves, because these will be straight jump stitches and it might look a bit jagged going around a curve. So if the candle wicks are closer together, they'll run round the curve smoothly. I don't want a gap, so I'm just going to leave it as is and apply that, and I'll move my object properties out of the way, and you can see it's pretty good size for that border, and it has run around the curves quite nicely. I'll just zoom out a little bit so you can see that. The biggest problem is here at this point. So when I zoom in, you can see that these candle wicks are overlapping each other because they're coming into a tight area and they just couldn't fit any more space between them because of the change in direction here from coming around this way to going around that way. So we can, I'll just close that actually, the object properties, and we can try to fix it with the reshape tool. So we can select the object and go to the reshape tool. I'm just going to dim that image so it's not so obvious. And I might even go out of true view, so you can hit T on your keyboard, or you can come up here to the show artistic view icon and click on that, and that will make it a little bit easier to see what nodes you've got here to work with. So as you can see, here is the yellow left click square node that I made to start with, and here are the turquoise right click nodes that I went around the shape with. So you can try moving this node, but even so you can see now these two candle wicks are still overlapping. So it's, without dramatically changing the shape, you could try putting in another square node. Let me just get in here. Yes, there's the black line. So if I put another square node in there and bring it around like this, we still really haven't got enough room to spread these out. Oh, we're getting pretty close there, so you could fiddle around, but now I've got 3 nodes all overlapping. If I go into true view, it's better, but it's still all bunched up there. It's better with the shape, and if I go and spread them any further, I'm going to start running into these ones down here. So I'm going to undo that and undo it again. How many times did I do it? 3, I think. I undo again. I'll undo till it goes back to that one and then redo, and then I know this is the original interpretation the software made of that line. Okay, go back out of true view. So as I said, it's better when you've got these sort of sharp tight corners to use an open object. It's easier to reshape it. So I'll select it again. It'll turn pink because I'm not in true view, and I will go to the edit toolbox, and in there you can find your knife and you'll get a nice thick pink line around, and what I want to do is cut through this point here so that I've got 2 ends I can move independently. So I'm going to left click on this side of the point, go through that point, and left click on the other side and enter. Okay, now it's still a single object because I've only made 1 cut, but it's now got 2 nodes there which are easier to reshape. You'll know when you start to do it. So we'll go to our reshape tool, and here's 1 node, and I'm going to bring that, actually I'll leave that one alone, and I'm going to take this one up a little bit and across a little bit. Try and get that top candle wick, I want to keep calling it a star but it's not, into this point. I might have to come down here a bit There we go. We've got one candle wick here right in the point. Now this one, as I said, is overlapping. We don't want that, so we can pull this one back. Actually, I might have to delete this node here, so select it and delete, and then pull this back to shorten the line. So we're not just spreading, we're actually, because that, like we did with the closed object, we're actually shortening this line till we get it so that it's just touching like these ones are. So we can come back a little bit. That's about as close as we're going to get it. And let's go to TrueView and have a look. And you can see there, that is much better result for that pointy corner. We haven't got too much overlap of the candle wicks. I'll just go select it so you can see better. We haven't got too much. There's a little bit of overlap there, but it's not dramatic. I'm zoomed right into 1192%. So if we go back to 1:1, they're really just abutting and nudging each other there. So when in doubt, or when you're having problems getting the shape you want with your candle wicks, consider using open objects rather than closed objects so that you've got a bit more control. All right. I'll go through a couple of other things you can do with candle wicks at the end of this video, but right now I'll go on and digitize the rest of the objects so that you'll be able to create the whole design when you are doing it yourself. Okay, so what I did was I considered what sort of stitching I'd like for the rest. I didn't want too much candle wicking because it's very stitch intensive and it does take a long time to stitch out. So it's better used as an accent rather than a lot in the design. Okay, so I decided that these spirals I would do as a back stitch, and the curvy parts here I would just do as a single run, but when I apply the blackwork run it will become a double run in effect. So let's start with those first. The good thing is that because I did the candle wicking first, I've now got something to work underneath. These parts I'm going to do now, I want them to stitch underneath the candle wicking, so the candle wicking's on top to cover all these ends. So I may need to, you know, have a bit of artistic license here where I actually end these lines. Some of them will be good and others I'll have to move them a little bit. So let's get our single outline open object and start. So for instance, although I'm zoomed right in, I don't really want to start in an open space. I'd like to start underneath the candle wicking somewhere. So I'm going to start here and then I'll work my way back into that line. And I'll zoom out a bit so you can see. And I'm going to stop here because I'll make the next line cross over it. So we'll enter that. And then the second line I'm going to start under the candle wicking here. And I'm just going to make sure that my digitizing goes over that end of that stitching line so that I can apply the blackwork run and everything will be connected. Enter. Now the next one goes all the way around, so I'm going to start here under the candle wicking and make sure I cross over that line. And in under that candle wick. Enter. And then the next one I can start here, making sure I start on that previous line. And end under the candle wick. And then one more. Now here it's a bit tricky. I'm just going to backspace so that I can come in at a better angle. I'm going to come in a little bit higher and into about here. When I go back to 1:1, you won't see that. But if I'd have come into, say, here, it would have been noticeable that it was ending in midair. So we'll enter that. Okay, now we need to apply blackwork run to that set of objects. So let's go to individual objects in our colour film, select the first one, come down to the bottom, hold our shift key down and select the last one. If you're not sure what you've got selected, go out of True View and you'll see whatever you've selected will turn pink, and you'll know whether you've got everything. And then we're going to go to our edit toolbox and choose blackwork run. Then you need to enter an entry point. Now with blackwork run, when you enter the entry point, that also becomes the exit point. So it's worthwhile considering where you want to travel to next before you enter your entry point, so that you can have shorter travel runs to the next object you want to digitize. So we are going to, I want to digitize these ones here next, these 3 lines here. So I'm going to enter my entry point right at the end here, and my little white cross happens to be there, but there's also a black triangle if you're not in True View. If I left click there, it will start and finish the blackwork run at that point. So I'll left click and it's done. We have now one single object that starts and finishes at this spot, and then it jumps back to the end of the design here. That's what that jump stitch there is. That will move when I create the next object. So what you can see here is the design starts here, does the whole candle wicking, then jumps from the end of the candle wicking here across to my object here, does that whole object with a blackwork run and finishes there and jumps back to here. So because I know that I want to travel around here, I can create my travel run now, and that will make it a lot easier than having to go back in and insert travel runs later. So it's just a matter of thinking your design through. You can always do it later, and I have shown in other videos where I've put travel runs in using the travel toolbar up here so that they land in the right place. But if you can save yourself the work, all the better. So for the travel run, we need a single run, open object, and we're going to move from the white cross at the end, or if you've clicked off and done something else in between, look for the black triangle. This is why it's good to digitize out of True View, so you can find the and have your connectors showing, because then you can find where you need to start. So I'm going to click right there. I'm going to go into this Candlewick, and I'm going to try and cross over where the points cross and follow that around. Sometimes you might have to click halfway into the Candlewick to change your angle to get through, but basically we're trying, I'll just zoom in, I'm trying to avoid this sort of thing where I'm going to get a stitching line between gaps. So I'll just backspace to get a better angle on that. I'll do it about here, left click, and left click, but you can see there's a bit of a gap here anyway because of it getting around the curve, the original Candlewick's getting around the curve. So just do the best you can and don't panic too much. You'll see when it stitches out that it will all really just blend in. Now I need to come to this point here, and I'll just go into there and across. Of course, your test sew is always the deciding factor. You should always test sew your designs, and then you can go back and fine tune. And I'm going to, even though the line is there, there's a closer join here and a better angle for me to come this way. So I'm going to go there and there, and I might just click in the middle of the Candlewick and come through this one as well. So you don't have to follow the actual digitizing line. We're just trying to hide this run stitch under the Candlewicks as best we can. So I'll go across there, maybe to here, and this clicking that I'm doing does not define needle points either, by the way. It is just creating the shape for the stitches to follow. So if you're worried about getting needle points, too many needle points, don't worry that these clicks are actual needle points. The stitch length will still be between, well, the 2mm, 2.5 is it, or 2mm standard length anyway, down to about 1mm if you've got that auto run checked by default, which changes it. Now I'm going to stop here because I want to show you something, and I should have done this before I even started to travel. So I'm going to escape out of that tool, and you can see here, this one in particular, because it is such a sharp angle, this one here finishes over here. The start of the Candlewick is on this side, and then it finishes over here and has to jump all the way across there. So it may be that you need to use the reshape tool to fine-tune the position, the rotation of some of these candle wicks before you even start to travel under them. So I should have checked that first. So I might just see if I can tweak this a little bit, although the join is here. So if I turn this around so that that gets closer to that Candlewick there, I'm actually going to make this one worse, because this point will come down this way further and there'll be a bigger gap there. So I mean, it's how fussy you are, but if there's a major problem, a big gap, you can tweak these a little bit by rotating them. I'll just show you how to do that. So let me just see if I can find one that would work really well by rotating. Sometimes you can fix one. I haven't found one actually, to be honest. It's going to work really well. They're all going to be worse if I rotate them, but I have in the past found some that will work better if they're slightly rotated. So if you do need to rotate, this one here could possibly have a little bit of rotation. So I'll select, escape out of the tool, get my select tool, select the object, go to the reshape tool, and I'm going to select this one particular Candlewick by clicking on the pink diamond, and then I'm going to look for my rotation, which is this round tool here. So look for that. You'll get the move tool, and you can slightly rotate if you need to, just by twisting it. But of course now I've got a bigger stitch over here, so I might just undo that. Just something to, oh no, actually it was better, so I will redo it. Yeah, and I might even go a bit further. Let me see if I can go just a bit further. That's better. So depends how fussy you are, and as I said, you know, you can be zoomed right in and think that there's a huge gap there, but when it stitches out, it's not even noticeable. So, okay, now you don't need to see me pathing again. I'll just pause the video and I'll make that path around to where I want to start this object here, and I'll come back. Okay, so I have digitized a path from here into here and around, back around here to here, and then I've done my last click here so that I can start this object here on that same cross. The reason I didn't continue on and make it all one object is because I don't want to include this path in the blackwork run for the for these three objects, so it's a separate object. Okay, so now we just need to digitize these three objects. So start on my white cross or the black triangle if you haven't got your white cross there, and just make the three objects just as you did for the 5 objects on the other side. So it's the same procedure. Very quickly I'll try and get this done, making sure I cross over that line. Doesn't matter if I've got a slightly different curve than the image, and making sure I start and end under a Candlewick and crossing over. Am I close enough? No, backspace, I'll just get that a little bit closer. And into the Candlewick, enter. And now I need to apply the blackwork run, so I need to select those 3 objects, go to the edit toolbox, apply blackwork run, and started here and I want to finish here as well, so I'm going to left click there. Okay, now this video has gone on for half an hour, so I'm going to split it into 2 videos, and I will come back with the rest of the design plus a few more tips on what you can do with Candlewicks. So I hope you enjoy this project, and I'll see you in the next video.